Just like a week ago, I uploaded a list of the top 10 games that most people love but I hate. Or hate is a bit of a strong word being used there, not really hate them, but it was better to put that in the title. I don't care. And it seemed to go over pretty well with people. I'm surprised. But now, I told you I was going to do the flip side. It's not all negativity here. So these are the hated games I love. Basically, the same rules apply. It's my opinion, you know. These are basically my gaming hot takes, although these are more positive. If you have some gaming hot takes, maybe let me know down below. And if you agree with any of these, let me know. Anyways, before we get started, you know what to do. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell, leave a comment, or I will squeeze a hot pepper in your eyes.
I wanted to give to you, the last part of your notes here, the significance spiritually of the number 10 in the Bible.
I love Marvel vs. Capcom. Such a strange crossover that should never work, but it did. Seriously, Wolverine versus Ryu is the matchup we didn't know we wanted. So I should hate Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, but weirdly enough, I don't think it's that bad. And hey, this is coming from an X-Men fan. Wolverine's my favorite superhero. Now don't get me wrong, the absence of X-Men characters is frustrating, and if you're gonna lose the X-Men characters, at the very least, replace them with more MCU characters, which they didn't do. But I gotta be honest, the gameplay is very fun. Definitely not as flashy as 2 or 3, but a lot of the combos are very fun to pull off, and I love the characters. Sure, like I said, the roster sucks, and we did get characters like Winter Soldier, who is pretty much a carbon copy of Chris Redfield, but some of the new characters like Jedha, Ultron, Sigma, Monster Hunter, and Black Panther are all very cool. The reason this game is not higher though is because as much as I defend this game, the things it gets wrong are really frustrating, and if we ever get a new Marvel game, I don't want it to be anything like this. Let's hope we get a new one soon though. But if we don't, this one's not too bad. Over time, Battletoads has become one of those games people have turned on, probably because of its difficulty. Now I'll admit, it is pretty ridiculous, but I feel Battletoads has a charm to it. Now don't get me wrong, shit like one of the two people dying causes both of you to restart, or you being able to kill each other, or that cave level are all absurd, but it adds a crazy yet doable challenge. This isn't like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the game, where the game is incredibly difficult because of how shitty and broken it is. This game isn't broken, it's just hard, but kind of fair. And full seriousness, when you beat any level in Battletoads, you feel like a beast. Even if you cheat, even if you use a Game Genie or whatever, if you pull a Billy Mitchell, you know what I mean? Battletoads is a game that people have turned on. People will tell you now that the game blows ass, and there are certainly parts of the game that have not aged well. But as I said, it is doable, and it does have that retro bullshit to it, but it's a nice, charming little title that provides a solid challenge to the player and some tremendous satisfaction to you when you beat a level and eventually the game, again, even with cheats.
So I'm going to be giving this flavor 8.5 out of 10 scoops.
Double Dragon is a franchise. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say it like that, because I feel it was one of the earliest beat-em-up franchises, but most people don't really remember it. One reason is probably because Double Dragon Neon didn't really take off. Now, Double Dragon Neon is a game that maybe you might not think should be on here because it's more divisive than anything, and it's more the critics that hated this game, but I constantly see Double Dragon Neon on lists of the worst beat-em-ups, worst game franchise revivals, and worst reboots, but I have to disagree. Double Dragon Neon feels like a love letter to the original games. The game was panned for feeling primitive, but myself and other people like the game because it doesn't feel too primitive, but rather takes the original gameplay of the original games and modernizes it to feel more fresh. Not to mention, it's colorful and flashy, and honestly, I think it is the best Double Dragon game. Yeah, come at me.
36.
Very close, but that's not it. Let's go to Gary the Retard. What number between 2 and 4?
7.
I noticed that we've been getting many games based on horror movies, and they are all online PvP survival horror games. Friday the 13th, Predator, and The Evil Dead all got games, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Killer Clowns from Outer Space, of all fucking movies, have games in development. But the only good game is Friday the 13th. Not much of a hot take, but what is more of a hot take is if I said The Evil Dead game is also very solid. While not as good as Friday the 13th, The Evil Dead game is a very solid game to play with a friend, but even by yourself, this game is a lot of fun. It seems that most people don't like this game because it's unbalanced. The survivors are way better than the zombies or monsters or any of those guys. And while that is true, Ash Williams and the crew are definitely way better than them, the monsters are still very fun to play. You can even like take over some of the other characters. That's just really cool. But even then, when you play as the survivors, it's still extremely fun, and the weapons in the game are super cool. Not to mention, you never know when a monster creeps up on you, which leaves me on the edge of my seat. I don't know about any of you. The Evil Dead game is clearly made with love from the fans of the movies, and yeah, just a lot of fun.
Okay, Mrs. Puff, what's my final score?
6.
Oh, Sonic, where do I begin? Somehow I feel like I could have put the entire Sonic franchise on this list, and also on the last list of loved games I hate. Yeah, that didn't really make any sense, but shut up. But Sonic's first leap into 3D, first real leap into 3D, Sonic Adventure, has had a weird relationship with fan reception. For a while, it was considered a very solid Sonic game, and maybe even one of the best games in the franchise. But over time, people turned on it. But not me. Now, don't get me wrong, Sonic Adventure hasn't really aged the best. Sonic's walking animation and his talking animation in particular have aged so badly they're actually kind of funny looking at them today. But the gameplay, I'd say, has still held up very well today. Not to mention the story, while nothing too crazy, is a pretty solid Sonic story, and the use of all the other characters, such as Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and many more, are all cool as they get their own sections in the game where you play as them, and I just love that. Sonic Adventure has a lot of good, and while many aspects have not aged very well, it is still great in most parts.
Oh, chills. Literal chills.
It was number 5. Number 5 killed my brother.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Okay, now I'm about to tell you about two games that nobody gives two shits about. 2 shits for each of the games. So together, it's nobody gives 4 shits about them. You see, when I was a wee lad, playing on my Xbox 360, my first game console that wasn't a Nintendo console that I really ever played, like played a lot on, I went around the Xbox store and found 2 games that were free, Doritos Crash Course and Doritos Crash Course 2, and I played the shit out of them. And years later, I went online and saw that not only does no one give a shit about them, but the few people who did don't like them. But I do. What can I tell you? Doritos Crash Course 1 and 2 are both sort of platformers where you play as your Xbox avatar through a crash course. It's simple, but man is it fun. The first game has you play on crash courses in the USA, Europe, and Japan, with each country being like a new difficulty level, if you know what I mean, and it's in that exact order that I listed them. While in Doritos Crash Course 2, it takes place in like some tropical, more fantasy settings, and can I just say, the music slaps. Unfortunately, the second game was delisted, so I literally can't recommend it, but the first game is free and still available as far as I know, and I don't care what people say, you should try this game. Xbox exclusive. Also, yeah, Aside from the branding, I have no idea what Doritos had to do with this game. Guess they liked it and just wanted their name on it. Huh. In my opinion, one of the most badass game franchises is Devil May Cry. A game where you play as Dante, a character who really just doesn't give a shit trying to fight demons. Really cool. Want to hear a hot take? Every Devil May Cry game is good. Yup, that's right. That includes Devil May Cry 2. Now I understand why this one is looked at as the weakest game in the franchise. Hell, I say I like it, but I still think it's the weakest game of the franchise. But still, like I said, Dante has always been, carefree and more cocky and brash, but this game changes him and makes him a more serious and brooding character. I'll admit, that was a change I didn't like too much. However, I'd say the gameplay is very solid, and the story, although maybe a little chronologically confusing, is also really good. The environments are big and cool and expansive, and also the addition of Lucia as a playable character is a neat one. I'm not going to argue that Devil May Cry 2 is better than the other games, because it's not. It's still the weakest one, but I still think it's a very solid game and definitely underrated. Mega Man. I love this franchise. Honestly, there are many games that most people don't like that I could have put on this list. A lot of people don't like Mega Man Powered Up, but I think it's a pretty solid remake of the first Mega Man game, and definitely way better. A lot of people also don't like Mega Man and Bass, but I think it's pretty neat. But a lot of people don't like Mega Man 7, but I'm not one of them. Many people didn't like the new look of the game and the gigantic sprites, but I kind of liked them. There were 6 games that came out before this game that all look the same. Not to mention, these are some solid robot masters, and the game starts differently than usual Mega Man games. It seems that the main complaint about this game is how it didn't really bring anything new to the franchise in a time where it was surely aging. While true, it doesn't offer much new to the series, I guess time has been kinder to Mega Man 7, as the game has held up very well, and more people are starting to come around to this game. Good. It's better people come around to this one, and not stupid-ass Mega Man Legends.
Pencil do we take again?
Number 2. Take a number 2.
Looks like you took a big number 2.
People might be coming around to Mega Man 7, but Mega Man 8, on the other hand, it seems people have not been as kind to this one. That's not to say it doesn't have its defenders, like me. Now, don't get me wrong, the game is very easy, and like Mega Man 7, didn't do much to change the game up, but it's still a very solid Mega Man game. The soundtrack and the visuals are really damn good. The Robot Masters, aside from fucking Clown Man, what the fuck are you doing here, are all really damn good, and the story is pretty interesting, and while the voice acting is awful, at least it's so bad it's good. Many people think it changed up the gameplay of the other Mega Man games into something not as good, but I have to disagree. I feel the gameplay is more modernized, at least at the time. I feel the gameplay is a more modernized, at least at the time, version of the original Mega Man games. Mega Man 8 is a solid installment in the Mega Man franchise, and it's unfortunate that most people don't agree. Okay, this is interesting timing. I'm about to talk about a game that was hated for literally just until now, and I had this list made like for a while. I'm just making this video now, and I was always high on this game. I'm talking about Cyberpunk 2077, and oh boy, I remember when this game was first out, and I felt like I was seriously alone in liking it. Now don't get me wrong, CD Projekt Red should have absolutely delayed this game so it was ready to release. And they definitely lied about many features of this game, such as the NPCs and whatnot. When I played this game, something rather unremarkable happened. I did not run into too many bugs and glitches, and certainly not enough to deem the game unplayable. Now I know what you're saying, DPX, you probably just played the PC version, or maybe just played the game on a PS5 or Xbox Series X. Haha, no. I played Cyberpunk on a base PS4 and was mostly smooth. I got 4 crashes, which yes, is ridiculous. But I've heard from people who haven't even finished the game that it crashed on them like 10 times, so I must be lucky. And once I was able to look past those issues that weren't really issues for me, I was able to appreciate the story, the world, the side quests, the music, and so much genuinely good that Cyberpunk 2077 had. And now people are starting to play it and enjoy it, but now that more people are playing it and appreciating it, should it even be on this list? Well, one thing is certain. Vanilla Cyberpunk 2077 is my #1 hated game that I love. So yeah, that was this list. Hope you all enjoyed it. Again, let me know if there's anything you agree with me or don't agree with me here, or if there are any hot takes that you have. Anyways, be sure to like this video, comment, subscribe, or I will squeeze a hot pepper in your eyes. Bye!